Let's listen to one another. Order in the House.
Please listen to the rope in silence.
The rope is requesting to be heard in silence.
Right Honourable Speaker, my concern is that whereas this bill was passed and we agreed unanimously, I see attempts to discuss what we already passed. And therefore, as a member of Parliament, of course, but also as a leader on this side, I am concerned that our members are being called to discuss what we have concluded. I would want to know why, because I see it is signed by Obua Den Samson, who was here when we passed this. So I would want to know why he's inviting members to discuss what we already passed.
Now, colleagues,
I beg to read this letter on table, entitled Meeting of the Parliamentary Caucus, Thursday, 20th April 2023 at 2 p.m. at State House, Entebbe, and signed by Dennis Obua Hamson, the whip.
Now, colleagues, the unfortunate bit, the presiding officer has no powers in whatever goes on in caucuses. Caucuses, these are internal matters of parties. We did our part. I think we absolved ourselves, colleagues. We've done our part. Okay? Please. I don't know whether the president is inviting the caucus so that he signs the bill before caucus members, because they overwhelmingly supported the bill. I will request him, if that is the purpose, he invites Honorable Cecile Guam to also witness, because she had requested. But we did our part. Colleagues, we did our part. We passed the bill here. Okay? And where I really have a very strong conviction, the president, Honorable Saropendi, led a group where we had a conference here, International Parliamentary Conference, African Parliamentary Conference on family values. And the president met this team, and he really thanked Parliament for doing their part. So if there is any ally we have on this bill, I'm sure it's the president. If there is any ally we have, it's the president. And I know he's a very strong leader, especially on such matters. So let us not go into details of caucuses, but for us, it has gone on record, we've done our part. If there is any other issue, we are ready to even do our part, even in a more tougher way. Even in a more tougher way, by the way. In terms of having a much stronger bill than the one we have, we are even ready to have a much stronger bill than the one we have. If you might find the president found our bill weak, maybe, or what? Yeah? So we are ready to make it even tougher. Okay? Yeah, we are ready to bring it here, and colleagues will make it tougher. So, but I wouldn't want to discuss internal matters of the party.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I want to appreciate you for those comments. We shall actually make the law even stronger. But the procedural issue that I'm raising, Right Honourable Speaker, the Honourable Solomon Silwany has informed us about a letter written by the Deputy Attorney General to the President. The Attorney General has confirmed that they have written. Right Honourable Speaker, the Deputy Attorney General gave support to the entire process in this House as we processed clause by clause. Right Honourable Speaker, would it not be procedural right that the Honourable Solomon Silwany lays that document on the floor so that we can look at it and see what is contained in that letter? Because I find it strange. There may be issues that may require further action against the Deputy Attorney General. if at all he goes against what he stated on the floor. So would it not be procedurally right for the Honorable Solomon Silwany to print and lay that document on the table?
Thank you. Now, colleagues, you see, this is the communication between the president and his officers. It is advice whether he can take or reject if it was given to him. Really, I think would be going far. Because you see, you'd see, I don't want us to cajole the president. I don't want Parliament to cajole the president into making a certain decision. Yet ours was clearly put on record. We gave him a bill. If there is any dissatisfaction with the bill, the president will return it. The moment he returns it, it will be up to us to deal with the bill. We can agree with him, we can disagree with him. And then, if we send it back to him again, he rejects it. He again brings it back to us. And that moment, if we pass it, it becomes law without his signature. And this is the Constitution. And we already have a very good example of the sugar bill. We have a good example of the sugar bill. So to me, I would propose, colleagues, we've done our part. I'm going to cross-check with the clerk. When did the president receive the bill? 30 days after that time, I will ask the Attorney General or the Prime Minister, where is our bill? Because that's what the Constitution says, within 30 days, Article 91. So I'm going to check with the clerk when the president received the bill. The moment 30 days elapse, it will be law. If we don't receive it, that he has returned it. So colleagues, let's not be bogged down by this, okay? Let's not be bogged down by this. You wanted, Solomon, you want to raise the rate on table?
Right, Honorable Speaker, the letter I talked about has been confirmed by the Attorney General. And the person who gave me the letter may be a civil servant, would not want, whistleblowers are protected by law, right, Honorable Speaker. So I cannot come and just lay a letter, but the Attorney General has not denied and has confirmed the letter, right, Honorable
Thank you.
Speaker.
So next time, don't ask for leave to read a document which you know you can't read. Because from the onset, you knew you can't lay it. Now, under what rule, Honorable Tebandeke?
Under Article 91.
Under what rule? Procedures under rules, not articles of the Constitution.
But Constitution takes precedence.
On next item, Honorable Minister for Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Statement by Minister on the situation in the Republic of Sudan.
Right, Honorable Speaker, permit me to give a brief on the crisis situation in the Republic of Sudan. After several months of the impasse that followed the October 2021 coup d'etat, the Republic of Sudan witnessed the first milestone towards restoration of civilian rule when a political framework agreement was signed between civilian political groups and the armed forces on the 5th December 2022. This was a result of several weeks of negotiations, which started on the basis of a draft constitutional document prepared by Sudan Bar Association and signed onto by relatively a broad coalition of civilian political forces and subsequently reviewed by the military. The framework agreement was signed by 25 political parties, 12 professional organizations and trade unions, and the two components of the military, that is the Sudanese Armed Forces, led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhani, President of the Transitional Sovereign Council, and Rapid Support Forces under General Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, Vice President of the Transitional Sovereign Council. Some other actors may have signed the agreement after 5th December. In light of this, negotiations under the trilateral mechanisms commenced in the Sudan with the aim of finding a lasting solution to the political and security restoration of civilian rule. The above efforts were welcomed and supported by Uganda government and African Union, Intergovernmental Authority on Development, and other partners. However, during the course of these negotiations, disagreements between the President and leaders Sudanese Armed Forces, SAF, and Vice President and Commander of the Rapid Support Forces emerged over the aspect of security and military reforms. Whereas the President was in agreement with the integration of the Army within 24 months proposed transitional period, the Vice President and leader of RSF disagreed with the proposed and provided a counter-proposal of 10 years integration plan, which did not go well, leading to collapse of the negotiations. As a result, tensions continued to escalate, leading to deployment of SAF and counter-deployment of RSF in the city, which finally culminated into the fighting that broke out last Saturday, 15th April 2023. Efforts being made by Ugandan government. His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, under the auspices of IGAD, appealed to the warring sides to cease fighting and return to negotiating table. In addition, His Excellency the President has been in consultation with the chairperson of African Union and his regional counterparts under IGAD framework, and proposals have been sent to the fact-finding mission to Khartoum, led by President of South Sudan, to further mediate between the two warring factions. Right Honorable Speaker, on Uganda and Sudan, the Minister of Foreign Affairs has been in touch with the Ugandan mission in Khartoum, which was instructed to establish the location and the safety of Ugandans caught up in the ongoing fighting in Sudan. The embassy has so far established that there are approximately 300 Ugandans in the Sudan. These include 120 Ugandans working in Khartoum, 116 students in different institutions, 14 patients in hospitals and patients and workers in hospitals, 19 Ugandans who are in transit to Mecca, and 6 on a short visit to Khartoum. The embassy continues to look out for more Ugandans and encourage them to contact the mission. The ministry has approached the International Organization for Migration, IOM, and requested support and assistance to evacuate Ugandans who may wish to return home. In addition, the minister has requested the UN for assistance for possible evacuation. The government is working with other regional and international partners to monitor the situation and urges actors to stop fighting and return to constructive dialogue and recommit the principles of the transitional process as the only way to lead to national reconciliation and peace. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to submit.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Procedure?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Sarah, under what rule? Colleagues, Honorable, you don't stand up and then you look for the rules holding the microphone. Rules of 78 sub-rule 4 for rules of procedure. When you stand up on a point of procedure, you state the rule. Okay? So, colleagues, as you've received the statement from the Minister, it was an update. The situation is still very fragile. It's a situation which I would request that we don't come to discuss at this time. Honorable Minister voluntarily called me that he wants to update us, which is very, very commendable. And I hope we shall continue getting updates, especially on the status of Ugandans who might be trapped in that area. Next item.
Statement by Minister on the status of payment of salaries of scientists under Uganda Prison Service.
Honorable Sarah has conceded, but it seems she has a burning issue. Yes. She can't see the rule.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, my apology. I didn't come with my iPad. But the issue I am raising, last week, the Maputo report was laid before this House. And following that, I did mention that the Minister for Foreign Affairs had initiated on the post-Cotonou SCP-EU agreement. And you did direct the Minister of Foreign Affairs to come to this House today, Tuesday, to table that document to which he initiated the SCP-EU post-Cotonou agreement. So, Right Honorable Speaker, this is the matter that I was raising on, as to whether the Minister should not lay that document as you directed. And he's here, they are rare in the House. That's why I'm rising up, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you.
That he lays that table, that document on the table as directed.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, the post-Cotonou agreement, which we were informed under the OACPS that you initialed, is now a public document. Even in other parliaments, colleagues are telling us their ministers tabled it and all that. I had, you were not here, but I had told the government side to ensure it is tabled today. I know you must be having it in your office. It shouldn't be. In 1 hour, you think you can table it?
Right Honorable Speaker, permit me time to consult and then get back to you before I make commitment. So since I wasn't here, maybe my senior could be having the report. I'll be coming back.
Honorable, table the statement, the agreement tomorrow at 10 a.m. Yes, next item.
Item number 3 on order paper, statement by Minister on the status of payment of salaries of scientists under Uganda Prison Service.
Honorable Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, government approved salary enhancement for scientists and science teachers across the service with effect from July 1st, 2022. The categories approved for salary enhancement are 1. Health professionals, 2. Scientists in the mainstream public service, 3. Science teachers, post-primary schools, 4. Science lecturers, tutors, instructors in business, technical, vocational education training institutions, and 5. Laboratory technicians and assistants in secondary schools. In addition, there was approval of salary enhancement for senior military officers under the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs. Colleagues, following the above cabinet decision, the Ministry of Public Service issued the new salary levels under the Circular Standing Instruction number 1 of 2022. This prescribed in detail the new monthly and annual salary of every public servant with effect from July 2022, as I will lay as Annex 1. The salary structure for police and prison staff in U5, U6, U7, and U8 was also singled out under Schedule 5 of this circular, which I attach as Annex 2. Therefore, there is no ambiguity in implementation of salary structure of government public servants in financial year 2022-2023. The Ministry of Public Service advised Ministry of Finance on budget implications of the new salary structure for all science and non-science staff across government, including police and prison staff, which we have fully budgeted for, and funds released in the last 3 quarters of this financial year as requested. Honorable colleagues, Ministry of Finance has been able to budget fully for salaries of all public servants whose salaries were enhanced through supplementary budget this financial year, which is before this August House for scrutiny and approval. Right Honorable Speaker, I wish to end by stating that the concerns of non-payment of the enhanced salaries, some sections of scientists in any government department, and specifically Uganda Prison Service, may be due to the respective terms of employment specified in the appointments to the positions they hold, which my colleague, the Minister of Public Service and the Minister of Internal Affairs, can elaborate on. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to submit and lay on the table the statement together with the annexures 1 and 2, which provide the details. I beg to lay.
Thank you. The Honorable colleague who raised the matter is around. Okay, if he's not around, Honorable Seungo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I will allow 5 people. We'll
And
go to
I want to thank the Minister for the presentation. Honorable Speaker, I don't know, and the Prime Minister is not following, what they do at cabinet level, plus Honorable Mukasa, whom I know is an artist teacher. This business of segregating civil servants is unfair. Secondly, why don't you recruit more civil servants into civil service, other than looking at one side of science teachers, scientists alone? As we talk now, Honorable Speaker, let us look at the results of Senior 4, Primary 7, and look at the performance. They are all affected as a result of segregation between those who teach science and those who teach arts. And we cannot continue as Parliament to accept this. We fought it, we refused it, but Cabinet and ministers are still confirming the same. Information.
Thank you, Honourable Member, for giving way. Right Honourable Speaker, I remember when I was sitting in the Committee of Local Government and Public Service, we had a benchmarking trip in Kenya, and we found out that in Kenya, why they have peace in their pensions and salary and everything is because they award it according to the qualification. And we told the minister here, as they're working on the salaries, the salary increments, that let's give salary according to the qualification. If you're a certificate holder, you earn according to the certificate holder across board. If you're a master's holder, it's master's across board. Why would we segregate? Thank you.
Yeah, right now, Speaker, I'm the best example in this. I was a grade 3 teacher. I went for a diploma in Kakoba National Teachers College, expecting my salary to go high. By that time, that was the system. I left teaching with a bachelor's in education and salary of a grade 3 teacher. That's not fair. Let us revisit, put in place a salary review commission that will advise this country. But this business of looking at only scientists is not fair. Whether you think Rwanda or Kenya are stealing teachers from Uganda, it will not solve the problems of segregating scientists alone. There is no teacher right now, Speaker, who teaches science in Chinyankole, Uganda, or anything. They all teach in English because they began teaching by learning the best language that is used in the country is English. So once you look, actually, right now, Speaker, there is no child who gets a 9 in English and gets a first grade. He's in the 3rd grade. So where is the science?
Thank you, Honorable.
So right now, Speaker, as I conclude, Honorable Minister, please go back with your document and put in place a review commission and look at all civil servants fairly, other than segregating us. The Attorney General is there. Is he a scientist?
Thank you. Honorable Santorum.
Thank you, right now, Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker, allow me to thank the Minister. But as he was giving us the statement, I was wondering, this business of salary enhancement, they discussed it a lot at the cabinet level. And now before Parliament, you are saying maybe the Minister of Public Service can elaborate. Right Honorable Speaker, there are a lot of issues as far as the scientists are concerned. And Mr. Speaker, I was wondering whether it would not be okay for the Minister of Public Service, since both of them are heavily represented here, to give us the highlight so that we know where and how this country is going as far as the scientists is concerned. Because many times we have been told that scientists is the way to go. But before us, Right Honorable Speaker, we are seeing completely a different thing altogether.
Thank you.
So what signal are we sending to the
Honorable
country?
Muzare, thank you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of salary discrimination is a very serious one, and the entire country is waiting for a serious government position in regard to this. Right Honorable Speaker, most of the civil servants are artists. They are not scientists. If you go to the district, you'll find a few of those who are science, and a bigger majority are arts. Now, when they don't get the same pay, they get discouraged, they get demoralized. It is important, Honorable Minister, that the issue of the, we are calling it a remuneration board, we give it attention so that harmonization in its salary is done as fast as possible. Otherwise, we are not going to achieve what is expected from our civil servants. Right, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Margaret Namwaka.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to relay my grievances on the issue of salary enhancements to science teachers or whatever science in police, in prisons, and what have you. Mr. Speaker, I'm a teacher by profession, and I started as a grade 3 teacher, as Honorable Sewunga said. And when I was teaching, really, I kept on progressing. Right now, I'm a master degree holder. When I was a diploma holder, that was when I ended getting the salary as a diploma holder. I graduated to a degree. My salary was not increased. How I wish Ministry of Local Government, Ministry of Public Service and Finance realign themselves and make sure that people are paid according to their qualification. And today in Uganda is where we get a lot of demonstration simply because of payment. And the reason why we are getting a lot of demonstration is because we are segregating, we are looking at a scientist with a certificate more than a degree holder with, in arts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Chimosho.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. On the issue of salaries, Right Honorable Speaker, I think we need serious harmonization. Apart from science teachers, Right Honorable Speaker, on 9th March 2023, Public Service wrote to 3 institutions. That is Mulago National Referral Hospital, Cancer Institute, and Heart Institute. And it wrote to them approving their structures. In that structure, the executive director of Mulago gets 15 million. The executive director of Heart Institute gets 39 million. The executive director of Cancer Institute gets 25 million. The driver for the executive director of Mulago gets 200,000. The driver for a driver of Cancer Institute gets 1.7 million. And it applies to Cancer Institute driver. The secretary of the ED to Mulago earns 700,000. The secretary of ED Heart Institute and Cancer Institute earns 2.7 respectively. Right Honorable Speaker, the 2 institutions, Cancer Institute and Heart Institute, were born by Mulago. And I'm not saying that they are getting a lot of money. But if we are saying, we have been talking about rationalization, and with the major aim of streamlining salaries and promoting equity across. How do you expect the ED of Mulago to earn 15, this one earn 39, and then you expect no demonstrations of doctors at Mulago, you expect efficiency, you expect morale to go high, and it is the same public service that is trusted with rationalization. Are they rational in doing some of these things?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You see, and Honorable Minister, also this Minister for Public Service, the issue of pilots in police. They enhance salaries for other government pilots, but the ones of police were not enhanced. Yes. And these are people you might lose. I made some of them really, it was, they explained their situation. You feel now should I cross over to other agencies? And then, of course, we have the issue where I had told them to seek opinion of the Attorney General. The issue of lawyers in police, where the President had said they be paid as state prosecutors, okay? And then they started earning money along the way. After like 10 years, money stopped coming. And they said you are earning money illegally after 10 years. So all these contradictions, and I remember I raised it here, Honorable Minister, your ministry didn't even have the courtesy to come back to the Deputy Speaker or to the Speaker and say we handled this matter. So sometimes I keep quiet. Also when you have your issues, you will look for me. And but when you look for me, you will find me available and I will attend to you. So next time you also attend to the issues we raise here. When we raise here issues, they are very, very critical. You need to be attending to them. Honorable Kaya?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. The question of salaries to scientists is a key issue. Right Honorable Speaker, as we talk now in most schools where head teachers are artists and others are scientists, the science head teachers are opting to go back to classrooms because the salary differences is too high. Right Honorable Speaker, in other districts, like our district, Namayingo, teachers are paid now in tons. You find that the district reasons that the money they have can only pay scientists, and the arts teachers since December have not received their salaries, and there is no teaching. These are rural districts that actually need services. So you find that, as my colleagues have stated, even when it comes to the results at the end of it, at the end of the year, the performance is low. The question of paying scientists, especially in police, prisons, and the Ministry of Defense, is touchy, especially for us who sit on a sectoral committee that oversees defense and internal affairs. We are always bombarded by colleagues in these forces, in these sectors. They question, why are we paid differently? So it is a question that the minister actually should comprehensively give an answer, not to tell us that it is embedded in the supplementary.
Thank you.
Supposing the supplementary doesn't go through. It is a serious question.
Honorable Yotani, I will conclude with Honorable Ndezi Alex.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I think the general question that should be handled is that salaries paid to civil servants in the country is low. And therefore, there is need for us to find more money and provide for paying salaries and announce for everybody. That is one. And secondly, the minister, it is difficult to have money for paying teachers where this month they are paid only science teachers, the next month they are paying. I think provide money which is enough to pay both sciences and art teachers at schools. That should be the bottom line. But Right Honorable Speaker, the question of paying sciences in this country, I think this parliament must accept it, that those who are doing sciences should be paid even much higher money than what they get. Because if we don't do this, Right Honorable Speaker, we are training sciences that are able to help this country in production, but they end up running away to other countries. I want to give an example here, Right Honorable Speaker. The three people who built the spacecraft that we launched recently, the satellite, one of them has been taken by Japan, and the other two who are here are also planning to leave the country because of low pay. Now, if you train people at that level and then they go to contribute for other people, what is the point? Second, Right Honorable Speaker, we have got people who have been trained in making batteries, both for watches and batteries for cars and batteries for solar system. And this guy We met him last week on Friday. He's also planning to leave. So, Right Honorable Speaker, we should pay everybody, but let's have somewhere to start from. And I think starting with the sciences is the right thing to do. We may want to pay everybody, but if we don't have enough money, then we should start from some. And sciences is very important for development of this country. And as Parliament, we must support because it's a critical area that will enable us to transform. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Ndezi. I'm ending with Honorable Ndezi. Oh, I would allow one workers MP because I was scanning around looking for workers MPs, so it's very important.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I would like to remind members that before we could assume our duties as members of the 11th Parliament, we saw to uphold and defend the provisions of the Constitution. One of the most important provisions in the Constitution relates to non-discrimination. Non-discrimination. There are more than 7 articles in the Constitution that prohibits any practice relating to discrimination. Some forms of discrimination are visible, while others are invisible. Now, when it comes to the case of science versus us teachers, the situation is very, very clear. This reflects a very high form and level of discrimination. What does the Constitution say? The Constitution says that we must make sure that we do not harm its provisions. So I'm thinking, Honorable Speaker, that's the end of the day. We must admit that at the end of the day, this Parliament will be required to do appropriation. Appropriation. Meaning, with the time, it will be said, you MPs are part of the problem. Why do you proceed to approve a budget that clearly shows that there is a discrimination? So, Honorable Speaker, I'm not blaming colleagues, but putting the minister on notice. At an appropriate time, when we are doing appropriation, I will stand in this house and say, we cannot continue to harm the provision of the Constitution, and therefore, this budgetary provision that relates to violation of the Constitution, that reflects the discrimination, should not be agreed to. Good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Honorable Margaret Wabshija.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, in the Constitution, Chapter 4 talks about fundamental human rights. And, one of the issues that is mentioned is the equal pay for equal work. But we are ignoring it. If all the teachers in, say, secondary go for a certain period, and let us say they go for 3 years training, and they come out, it doesn't matter, irrespective of whether you are an arts teacher or a science teacher, you are still a teacher, and you need the same money. And we are ignoring that, yet we went ahead and endorsed the Equal Opportunities Commission. It was talking about segregation and trying to fight it. But we fight it with one hand, and then we are blocking the people on another. I have here a list, and I know that 44 teachers and 44 districts in this country have not received their salary from January to date. We have ignored because they are teachers. If we go on like that, and we come here and lament about the quality of education, then we are contradicting ourselves. You cannot have quality when you are not paying the people and you are just segregating that these ones must be better than the others. Then we are losing out a generation if we continue like that. Right, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable colleague. Colleagues, we all agree this is an issue where I think Parliament has on record disagreed with the executive on several occasions. I think it's an issue where the executive needs to engage more Parliament and address the concerns raised by honorable colleagues. We see issues to do with our resource envelope, which we acknowledge, But someone says, well, okay, if the resource envelope is not okay, then how do you double? What is the best of doubling for this one? Some are even tripled, when others have not yet gotten anything added on. If you had said you've added this one 50%, it would be a bit reasonable. But you more than double sometimes, and then you say there is no money. Rope?
Right Honourable Speaker, I am directing Honourable Wanaka to respond.
He should tell us his role in the opposition government. He's not only honourable, he must be having a strong title.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. And I want to thank the LOP for directing me to...
The acting rope. You see, he has given directives when he's acting rope. If he becomes rope.
Thank you. Right Honourable Speaker, enhancing salaries of one category of workers is discriminatory and must not be accepted. I'm talking from a background that I'm a scientist. I went to school, I did sciences. It is not true anywhere in the whole world that when you enhance only scientists, workers of government, that will cause development of that nation. That is not true. The little that we have in this country must be shared equally and fairly. All workers in this country, regardless of the courses they went to at school, they must be paid based on their education levels, based on their experience, based on their outputs. That is very, very important. Not based on whether they are scientists or us or not. The directive of the President on salary enhancement for scientists across board was bound to cause problems, and it is causing problems in this country. We have many workers in the public service that are now demoralized. As one of my colleagues said, as we are losing scientists, we are bound to lose also artists who are very important. It is not only the scientists that we are losing. There are many other areas in the arts circles that we are going to lose. We should also differentiate studying science and being a professional. The two are not the same. Yes. You can study science, but when you are not a professional in that area, it is important, while we are thinking about government policy, to do proper research. Our policies of government must be informed by research. People who go to the president, you must be researched. We don't want policies that are not based on research that drive this country into chaos. What we are facing now is anarchy, is chaos within the public service. Right Honourable Speaker, we want to call upon the Minister of Public Service to expedite on the establishment of the Salary Review Commission. That is very, very important, to work on the salaries equitably of all the public servants in this country. And lastly, Right Honourable Speaker, there must be harmonization in remuneration of all workers, whether you are a scientist or an artist. We all deliver service to this government and to the people of Uganda. There must be equity. I so present, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, colleagues in the public gallery this afternoon. We have a delegation from the Guild of Bishop Stewart University, led by their speaker. They are represented by Honourable Mwine Mpaka, Honourable Rukar Robert, and Honourable Rita Twasa. They've come to observe proceedings of this House. Please join me in welcoming them. Can they stand up? Thank you. Thank you for coming. Honourable Minister, I think both Minister of Finance and Minister of Public Service will have to comment because the issues were cross-cutting. So in any order for the two of you.
Right Honourable Speaker and honourable members, it is true some members, scientists in the Department of Prisons are not being paid a scientist salary. The problem came not because of any other thing, like the Honorable Minister of Finance has explained.
Honorable Minister, Chief Whip, your people outside, you know, kindly always tell your troops. Okay. Thank you. The caucus is for Thursday, not today, from what we know.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. The scientists who in the prison service who are being paid the scientist salary are those who are directly doing work of scientists in the prisons. Let's say the agricultural officers and the others. The other scientists who are recruited for general duties and so on, unfortunately when we were working out this, were taken in the category of administrators. And therefore, they did not qualify to get a science pay. However, when this issue was raised, we are engaging the Ministry of Internal Affairs and the Prisons Department to see how best this can be handled so that we, as much as possible, follow the directive of paying scientists much better than the other civil servants. So that is being worked out with the relevant ministry and the relevant department. Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Minister, I can see your turn, see who is, you can allow her?
Oh yes, she's my friend.
Okay.
She
So, Honorable Saro Pendi.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, I appreciate what you are trying to state, but I would wholly have agreed with you if the pay slips were reading otherwise. I want to inform you, Honorable Minister, that I have some pay slips of officers within prisons with enhanced salary, but what they are being paid is 650,000. I even asked, are you sure you don't have a loan? And they said, no, this is the old salary, which means there is still a problem within your system. So the clarification that I need from you is as to whether your officers within public service actually sit to look through some of these discrepancies, or it is just business as usual, and whoever complains is the one they deal with. So that's the issue I wanted to raise. There are people whose pay slips read enhanced salary, but they are still getting the old salary.
Thank you very much. Right Honorable Speaker, you're aware payment of salaries was actually decentralized to a particular vote. What we people in public service do is really to carry out an aggregate at the beginning of each budget year of how much money is required for salary, the wage bill. And it is looked at with finance. We agree that that's what we're going to pay. And then finance, once it is settled and appropriation is done, then finance sends out these amounts of money, the various votes, for the officers to pay. Now, if a particular vote holder chooses to pay something less or something, that is really an aspect of that given particular vote holder. Right Honorable Speaker, yes, we have been here time and again about the discrepancies in pay. But I recall this House agreed that let's enhance pay for all public servants, but let's do it in phases. And this was determined not because we just want to make people suffer or more or less discomfort our civil servants. This was done because of the actual performance of our budget, our economy. And we agreed we are going to pay in phases, and we have started on this in earnest, and we've been paying in phases. But the pay principles which we agreed on really show equitability, and once we move as we are projecting, then we shall have an equitable pay which is harmonized and rationalized. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of the salaries review board or commission, yes, we have heeded to the proposal and advice given by Parliament, and actually now our proposals as public service have actually been sent to Cabinet. Very soon, Cabinet, if we are given a slot on the agenda, we shall consider this, and we shall come back here happily to report that the salaries review commission or board will now be in place, in effect, and will start its work. And of course, it will look at those issues of harmonization, of making sure that everybody gets what is due to him or her. Right Honorable Speaker, yes, we looked at the issue. Supposing we want equity, and so supposing the money we are giving scientists was given across board pro rata, what impact would it have? Probably very little. So we thought that it would be strategic, that let's start somewhere. And let's start with some of the most strategic sectors which have a quick turnover, really, in the transformation, not only of society, but even of the economy. That's why we chose, Right Honorable Speaker.
No, honorable colleagues, when you ask twice and a member holding the floor has not considered, please, you allow us to continue.
Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable Seungu is my friend and is a fellow teacher. Let him clarify.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for guiding well, and I want to thank the Minister. I agree entirely with you being strategic, but the best strategy for teachers in Uganda teaching is starting with the primary teachers in science. There is no single child that will do science well in upper classes when he has not had a good foundation in school, in primary. So the clarification I'm seeking, as a fellow primary teacher, don't you think that all science starts from primary schools? Which component of science is not taught in the primary school, as you taught yourself? To all teachers. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Nature study and science and so on, yes. That's something that really we have to discuss with the subject matter experts, especially for primary school teachers. So, Right Honorable Speaker, as we were saying, let's start with this category, pay it very well, stop the hemorrhage, and then we now look at the other sectors. And, honorable members, Right Honorable Speaker, we are committed. We are committed. It is not a question of segregation or what. It's a question of the reality of our economy. And, you know, if somebody says, let's pay equitably, let's say 30% and so on, that also may not bring about the satisfaction which we need. Right Honorable Speaker, the scientists in the police and so on, yes, this one has now been discussed, even including the pilots. It has been discussed and settled. Those pilots in the police, you want to clarify? Yes. Clarify.
He needs you to clarify, so you better listen. He's seeking a clarification from you. Honorable Severman.
Right Honorable Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker, and I also thank you for the opportunity to clarify. Honorable Mururi Mukasa, now, it is me that's asked this particular question. The reason why I brought it up was because scientists were receiving, okay, as you said, they were on general duties. So they were receiving around 650, 850. They were later enhanced to 2.2 million. At the beginning of this financial year, you brought in a budget where we budgeted for their salaries as scientists to 4 million. And then they received this money from July to February. They went ahead and got loans. They went ahead and made commitments to different entities. Finally, in March, you dropped a bomb on them and reduced their salaries back to 800,000 and 650. Yet they had commitments, and Parliament had appropriated that money, like you brought it in the budget. So, then after the complaints, now you're bringing up the issue of some came in as general duties, others came in as scientists. As of today, all we know is you employed them. It is not their problem if you've not deployed them. Because it is you, prison, to deploy them. Go to forestry, go to engineering, go to this brigade. So today, with the commitments that they have, and without warning that you're going to cut their salaries, could you please clarify to this Parliament where these scientists are going to get money? Because the loans they have are 2 million, you've dropped them back to 850, yet we appropriated money to the entity to pay them as scientists.
Thank you. Honourable Minister, resume.
Honourable Speaker, as I said, the management of the vote really is to the vote holder. For us, after we have worked out all the monies required and we come here and money is appropriated, the vote holder now manages that. However, what I was saying is that yes, in the case of the prisons officers who are scientists and in general duties, discussion is going on. Yes, and I think they are heading the right direction. A clear line of action is going to be got, and it will be, I can assure you, in line with the general principle that scientists should be paid higher for now until we have enough money to enhance the rest. Secondly, the question of pilots, as I was saying, that has also now been sorted out. They are going to be paid like the other pilots, depending on their qualifications, so that there is no discrepancy between the pilots in the police and the pilots elsewhere. Right Honourable Speaker, I would like really to say that there is no discrimination. There is no discrimination. What is there in principle, and that we are not following discrimination in principle. What we are saying is that yes, given our ability to pay now, what we have is a phased approach. And with the money available, and if appropriation is right, then progressively we are going to get up to the pay principles that we agreed on in 2017. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Next item. Colleagues, this was a statement that didn't require resolution, and rules say it couldn't go beyond a certain time, so Rule 50. So let's go to the next item. The committee responsible will follow up on the matter.
Item number 4 on the order paper. Motion the House resolves itself into the Committee of Supply to consider 1. The revised expenditure for the financial year 2022/23. 2. The proposed expenditure for the financial year 2023/2024.
I know the Minister of Finance was consulting. Please ensure he comes in. I need the Minister of Finance in. But colleagues, some of you were asking me how the item is scheduled on the order paper. Yes, this is the right way, because now all processes to do with budgeting will be handled under this motion. Okay? So we have to first look at the revised expenditure for the previous financial year, no, for this current financial year. Then we go to the one for next financial year. So all MPS's, Ministerial Policy Statements, and all subsequent discussions on the budget will be under this motion which the Minister is going to move. Honourable Minister for Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move a motion that the House resolves itself into the Committee of Supply to consider, number 1, the revised expenditure for financial year 2022-2023, and number 2, the proposed expenditure for the financial year 2023-2024. I beg to move.
Is the motion seconded? Honorable Beta Mongi, Honorable Serani, Honorable Fox Odoy, Honorable Max Ochai, Honorable Katarihwa, Honorable Mudimi, Laurent, Terego, by all of you. I didn't know you were a rat because Honorable Minister, would you love to speak to your motion?
Right Honorable Speaker, on 30th March, when we presented the budget, we gave a small highlight, but for the purposes of kickstarting this debate, let me give the following summary. Number 1, our total resource envelope for financial year 2023-2024 is 50.92 trillion, moving from 48.13 trillion for financial year 2022-2023. The theme of next year's budget remains the same, and it is full monetization of the Uganda's economy through commercial agriculture, industrialization, expanding and broadening services, digital transformation, and market access. Our budget is going to be financed through in the following categories. Number 1 is domestic revenue. Both tax and non-tax revenue will amount to 29.34 trillion. Budget support in terms of grants and loans will amount to 2.78 trillion. Domestic financing, what in other words domestic borrowing, will amount to 2.71 trillion, and domestic debt refinancing will amount to 8.36 trillion, and project support, external financing, is going to be 7.44 trillion, and local government revenue is going to amount to 283.1 trillion. Another key highlight, 283.1 billion. Another key figure to note is the discretionary resource. In other words, the amount available for us to finance our expenditures is going to amount to 24.42 trillion. Mr. Speaker, with these few highlights, I would like to invite the House to consider the motion, and as Minister of Finance, we know the process will take us for some few weeks, and we pledge our total commitment to support the process, and we invite colleagues to support us in this process. I beg to Submit, Right Honorable Speaker.
Some correction.
Thank you.
Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Mudim, you don't access the microphone without my permission. Yes. Thank you, honorable colleagues. As I had mentioned to you earlier on, that we are going to do these municipal policy statements, and as per Rule 149, we must be done by 20th. That means on Thursday. So tomorrow, starting at 10 a.m., committee chairpersons, please. I want tomorrow. I will need Committee on ICT and National Guidance, Committee on East African Affairs, Committee on Defense and Internal Affairs, Public Service and Local Government, Environment and Natural Resources, Presidential Affairs, Foreign Affairs, and Health. I want you to do tomorrow starting at 10 a.m. Starting at 10, and we shall do all day. Also Thursday we shall start at 10. So that we beat the deadline. This is a statutory deadline that was put in our rules. One way of weighing our performance as Parliament is that please don't tell me about caucus. I don't know those issues of caucus, okay? I'm in plenary. Please. Internal issues of parties are internal issues of parties. I have a statutory deadline to meet. You can't tell me about internal issues of parties, okay? So, I want to ensure one way they'll be weighing our performance. We'll be seeing whether we complied with this. This is once a year. So how can we fail on it? So let's work day and night to ensure that indeed we beat the deadline as provided for in our own rules. So, Honorable Mudimi, you had?
Yeah, Right Honorable Speaker. When the minister was reading figures, I want to correct the answer. Right Honorable Speaker and members, when the Honorable Minister of Finance was reading the figures, I heard him talking about 382 trillion as local revenue. It is billions, not trillion.
Okay. I remember you went back and corrected it, but it's good you've emphasized it, so that the hands had captured it well. Honorable Chivumbi?
Right Honorable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. Two issues to correct. One, and it affects sectors. The Minister of Finance gives an impression of 24 trillion as discretionary expenditure. When you look at the detail of what he defines as discretionary expenditure, he includes pension, he includes gratuity, he includes wage. Now, wage, gratuity, and pension are not discretionary. That's statutory. So that figure he reads here is a misleading figure. And I would beg him, in all honesty, to revise that figure, so that Parliament works with a true figure of discretionary, which is minus pension, minus gratuity, minus wage. Because those are statutory. You can't vary them. It's not money for you available to spend. It is as it is. But they've continued to balloon the budget to look that way. Secondly, the Minister of Finance has not at all alluded to the budget framework paper. At this time, we check consistency of parliamentary recommendations as to how much they are consistent with what we recommended in the budget framework paper. With those two remarks, Honorable Speaker, I raise my case.
Thank you. Starting with the last one, Honorable Chivumbi, I think that's good guidance to colleagues when they are debating, because you passed the budget framework paper that had recommendations. Now you have to look, when you're processing municipal policy statements, each sector, what you passed under the budget framework paper, in line with what you've discovered in the municipal policy statement, to see that there is consonance, there is a relationship. Where they addressed, if they were not addressed, so the sector committee should be able to analyze and tell us whether indeed their recommendations in the BFP were considered or not. The first issue, I hope your committee has made a recommendation on revising a chart of accounts, because this would be an issue for the chart of accounts. How do they capture it under their own chart of accounts? Honorable Minister?
Mr. Speaker, on the Public Finance Management Act requirement that the budget estimates shall be consistent with the budget framework paper. Yes, it is true, and when you analyze the policy statements critically, you will find that in some areas this was addressed. We addressed our minds to that provision of the law. On whether salary, wages, and gratuity should appear in the discretionary resources, yes, this is how we have been treating it, and this is how we continue to treat it, unless new ideas come up. But as it is now, there is no problem, Mr. Speaker, with the way we are moving.
These are the new ideas, Honorable. These are the new ideas which you should take, you look at, you discuss, and you see. You can have more discussion about this, and also the best practices in the region. Honorable Mara, you wanted to say something about this?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Is Honourable Max Ochai here? I will want him to say something also.
I want to thank the Minister of Finance for providing us the revised figures. Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable Members, the Secretary to Treasury has just tweeted to say he's back from the IMF and World Bank conference in Washington, and one of the key issues he mentioned there, Right Honourable Speaker, that concessionary loans has dwindled, will not be available, and we need to curtail our appetite for debt, and most importantly, improve on our domestic revenue generation. Right Honourable Speaker, the figures for revenue projections have gone up from 25.5 trillion to 29.3 trillion. As of now, Uganda Revenue Authority is 300 billion below budget, and yet we now only have 3 months to end the financial year. My observation and recommendation to the Minister of Finance that for the first time, let us have a robust domestic revenue generation strategy. And we have seen pockets of opportunities where we can collect taxes and improve our revenue generation locally. Last time I was here and I mentioned the issue of gold, taxes on gold. We have arrears of 43 billion, which has not been collected. URA has said they have only collected 3 billion. Now we have a projection for the next financial year, 2023-2024. The Right Honourable Prime Minister was here, was saying they have projected 10 billion shillings. What is happening? We must be very serious where if anybody has to pay tax, they must pay those taxes.
Thank you.
And so therefore, Right Honourable Speaker, may the Minister of Finance assure us that they will be very serious in supporting Uganda Revenue Authority to collect taxes wherever they exist. I submit.
Honourable, we just need assurance. Let's capture just, then we conclude. I'm picking final is Honourable Max Ochai. Just Honourable Max Ochai, then you.
Yeah, Right Honourable Speaker, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to make a comment on the reaction by my colleague, Honourable Kivumbi. And I want to state categorically that wage, pension, and gratuity, according to the government financial statistics, are non-discretionary. As long as the wage bill is known, and as long as the gratuity is known, and even the pension already computed, we cannot run away from them. They must be met, they must be paid. And as such, I call upon my colleague, the Right Honourable Minister of Finance, to consider revising the statement so that we put aside what is discretionary and what's non-discretionary accordingly. I thank you.
Thank you. Now, Honourable Minister, how I understand discretionary money, this is the money which we can reallocate. We have a right here as Parliament to say this one, we can remove from here, we put here. Can we do it on salary? Can we do it on pension? Can we do it on gratuity? So I think, like you said, the new ideas, I request that you treat this as new ideas from Parliament. Which I know you know very well. But I think it is a matter of sitting down and maybe revising. Because one thing which I discovered, sometimes you find the way we would want us to report our finances as a country is different from how other countries are reporting. And sometimes puts you in a disadvantage when you go to these rating bodies, rating agencies, and all that. So they tend to standardize. But this is something very direct, extremely direct. Honorable Jonathan, and we are concluding. We are opening up to policy statements. Colleagues, I'm going to pick you on policy statements. Jonathan,
thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have some 3 issues. One is how we have captured this motion on the order paper. I see we are dealing with 2-in-1 motion, which is kind of alien, and maybe it's going to be the first time where we are going to handle a motion to consider the estimate expenditure for 2022-2023, which year has not yet ended. And I thought the minister could help us clarify on that first one on Roman item 4 Roman 1. And then we also have that under 8 Roman 4 item 4 Roman 2. So in terms of processing it in the House, how are we going to deal with those 2 motions together? I thought I should first get clarification from you. Secondly, Right Honourable Speaker, when we bring to the House a revised expenditure estimate, I don't know whether we are not actually amending or doing a reappropriation, especially for a financial year that is still running and the appropriation was already done by this Parliament. If that is the intention of the minister, then I think it should come separate on its own, and that should be subjected to the Committee of Parliament, relevant Committee of Parliament, to look at it before even it comes to this House. So I thought I should raise those matters first as issues of procedure.
Chairman Budget, you wanted to make a comment on that issue, on issues raised? Then I'll come in, I explain how we did the order paper.
Yeah, Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues. Normally when a Minister of Finance is presenting a budget, it talks about the previous revised expenditure for the previous financial year, then it talks about the current. So I think the Minister is in the right direction, much as the financial has not ended, but they have to talk about the previous financial in terms of reporting. You are comparing the past, the current, and the one in the future. So it doesn't do any harm, according to me.
Honourable Minister, you want? Honourable Cicero, go ahead.
Speaker, I think I slightly disagree with the chair of the budget. Here it is said revised expenditure for the last financial or the current financial year. Revised. And that's why we are saying if it is revised, then it is not the same which we appropriated. But as far as this Parliament is concerned, Right Honourable Speaker, we have already appropriated for the financial year 2022-2023. Now when the minister says revised, it means we have departed from what we appropriated to a new position. So that's why we are saying we cannot come up with a new position, because the new position can only be discussed and later appropriated by the same parliament. Now we cannot do three things at the same time. We want to know what happened to the money we gave you 2022-2023. At the same time, we are now working on 2023-2024. And yet you are also talking of the third tier, which is the revised figure. So I think you are confusing the House, Right Honorable Speaker. The minister should come clear on that. We now have three pillars: 2022-2023, revised expenditure, which he is talking about, and then the one the budget committee chair is talking about, which is the budget which we are all anxiously waiting for 2023-2024. Therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, seeking clarification. Thank you.
Now, how would you capture the money you allow the minister to spend under Article 156, the supplementary 3%? Because when you say the minister should only report on what you appropriated, but there is money you allowed him to spend under 3%. However much you've not yet approved, okay? It's still pending, however much. So if he only captures what you approved and yet he spent more, how then he will mislead you. He will have spent an extra over 1 trillion and he misleads you. So to me, what I look at as this revised is he captures whatever he has reported to Parliament. What you appropriated, plus what he spent under your authority, and then he reported it to Parliament, and you are processing. And then, of course, the financial has not yet ended, but you see, you need a picture of how far, because he has released it for the fourth quarter. Okay, by the time you do budgeting, 3 quarters are already gone. At least you should know, how is he performing? Is he doing well? Is he, to guide you just for guidance purposes?
I thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, for confirming my suspicion that the minister was attempting to hoodwink this House to process a supplementary budget. That is the point, and I'm now going to address the House on that matter, because that is going to be against totally what this House wants to do. When a supplementary budget is allowed, and brought before this House, there are 2 dimensions to it, and I'm going to cite the article that you mentioned, Article 156. One aspect of that article is that the House must validate expenditures that have already been incurred under the supplementary. On the other hand, there are other things that the government has looked through, and they would want money to be voted for it, meaning that they are futuristic. So the supplementary has 2 elements that the minister must confirm to us here. The ones you have used, which we must validate, and if we find it was expended illegally, this House can reject it. And then the ones you are requesting, because you have foreseen some circumstances that need extra money, that this House can then vote that amount of money. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to persuade you that this House should not be hoodwinked into processing supplementary indirectly through the motion that this minister has brought. That should be rejected, because it's going to be illegal from the onset. If the minister wants a supplementary, we can. Actually, I was suspicious that item 4 was brought so that item number 5 on the other paper would not be processed. It was going to be overtaken by the event. So if you want the supplementary, be honest. Come to this House, state us so, and we address it. But we cannot deal with item 4.1, the revised estimate, because we are amending an appropriation act. If you want to amend an appropriation act, which is equivalent as amending a bill, you come to this House, and then it will be dealt with.
Thank you. Now, Honorable Jonathan, let me just give you my word, and honorable colleagues. Okay? Let me just give you confidence. When we were starting, I explained to you that the budgeting process will be under this motion. And for now, we are starting with ministerial policy statements. The purpose for today is ministerial policy statement. Then the supplementary you cannot approve a supplementary that way. You can't. You can't say that we are now going to be conclusive on this motion. This is a motion whereby after processing ministerial policy statements on the floor, you refer them to the budget committee. You don't make a decision here. They are for reference purposes. So we are not getting any single resolution under this item. And approving a supplementary requires a resolution. And that is next week. Because this week, I must first process ministerial policy statements to beat the deadline. Now, colleagues, the same, so I want to assure you on that. Then number two, it is not the Minister of Finance who makes the order paper. It's me. The order paper is under me. Okay? So, and I'm following the deadline. So there is no way to say someone is trying to do anything. No, that's not allowed. For the supplementary, it's very clear, like I guided. The minister reported all figures. And this is very, very clear under Section 25 of the PFMA, where funds are expended under subsection 1, supplementary estimates showing the sums spent shall be read before Parliament within 4 months after the money is spent. So if the minister read it here, he must capture it among the things, among the expenditure he made. Then we scrutinize. Now, we have, why you cannot even manage this supplementary, Chivumbi's committee, the Committee on Budget, under Article 156, Clause 3, a supplementary appropriation bill shall be introduced into Parliament in the financial year, next following that financial year, to which the estimates relate, providing for the appropriation of the sums so approved for the purposes specified in those estimates. So under this supplementary appropriation bill, this is even where all these will be captured, but after approval by this House. So I just wanted to lay your fears. There is no one who will play games on this issue. Okay? Honorable Repair, then our Honorable.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Mine is on the ministerial policy statements.
Yes.
The current budget projections are based or are derived from the growth in the GDP. The assumption is the growth in domestic revenue is based on the growth of the GDP and will be 0.5% of the GDP. Now, the assumption of the Ministry of Finance is that the outlook on the GDP performance is that it is expected that the GDP will grow by 5.6%. But based on the assumption that you have estimated or projected the revenue, it will mean that the GDP will grow by 10%. I would just want the Minister of Finance, when he's submitting, to clarify on that so that it allays our fears.
Thank you. Honorable Samba.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you first of all for allaying our fears, because when you read the head note on the order paper on item number 4, it is saying motion for the House to resolve itself into the Committee of Supply to consider these items. Mr. Speaker, when we go to the Committee of Supply, we will debate, we will discuss and pass. There will be no chance for these items to go to the committee. So, Mr. Speaker, I want you to further clarify on how we are going to deal with the item number 4, because if it was a motion just to send, you would be sending to the committee. But if it is a motion for us to resolve into a Committee of Supply, they are sending us, Mr. Speaker, to process these items. Yet you have already our fears that you're going to send it to the committee for processing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Honorable Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, following the submission of the two colleagues and your guidance, I think then we need to get a way of removing 4.1. So then we deal with 4.2. Otherwise, as it is now, for us to say we are going to a committee to deal with 4.1 would be really not right.
Thank you. You see, Honorable Mujichi, the format of the ministerial policy statements requires that you refer to the performance of the current financial year. So how will you refer to it if you cannot capture it? I think what is important is you to note that, one, we are not making a resolution on it. That should give you all the confidence you have. Number two, we cannot, and I repeat it, we cannot put a question on item 4.1 before handling item 5. Item 4.1 is for purposes of addressing the concern of Article 156, Clause 3. When we are reaching that level of supplementary appropriation bill, that's where it will be captured. But now we have to move with the ministerial policy statements. So, colleagues, let's move with the ministerial policy statements. We refer them, okay? We shall refer them to the budget committee. They go for harmonization in the budget committee. And then for us, we shall come back here. We deal with the supplementary so that we can make the process for item 4.1 complete. Otherwise, for the next, I would say 2 weeks, we shall be handling item 4.1 of the whole budgeting process. I just wanted, yes.
Mr. Speaker, I still have a challenge even with item 4.2.
Yeah, 4.2.
Even 4.1 and 4.2. There is no way we will deal with them here in this manner. The motion should be to the House, but not to resolve into a committee of supply to deal with this matter. Because 4.2, Mr. Speaker, is dealing with 23, 24. And this is not the stage where we can handle it under committee of supply. Thank you.
Just allow me, give me a few minutes, Honorable Nsamba. I consult a few colleagues, Honorable Chivumbi, Honorable Musasiza, and Honorable Mudimi. You can, just wait a bit.
Okay. Come for sailing. How are you, Mama?
this and we go.
Thank you. So, colleagues, sorry for taking a minute off. Please, order in the House. Yes. Colleagues, order. Now, colleagues, this is a format which has always been used during budgeting process. We didn't introduce anything new. But I think what brought a problem was because we've not yet finished supplementary. There has been that suspicion. But we have, I've given them the confidence that that's not the purpose. And item 1, there is no way I can touch it, like I said, before we finish item number 5, which is a critical one. But you must capture it to show that when you are handling item 4.2, you had in mind the contents of 4.1, though not yet approved. Okay, so that's just the purpose. And I think we have harmonized on that. We have a meeting of minds. Ministerial policy statements. We are starting with the Committee on Finance. Chair, Committee on Finance.
Report of the Committee on Finance, Planning and Economic Development on the Ministerial Policy Statement for financial year 2023/2024.
Chair.
Right Honourable Speaker, I'm sorry we're not ready due to reasons beyond our control. We had a meeting with the Minister of Finance about 2 weeks ago. They agreed.
Colleagues, I need order in the House. We have one meeting here. Please, anyone who wants to consult, you can consult from the corridors, okay? Let's have one session here.
Right Honourable.
Please, Chair, first, let him finish. Let him finish. No, let him finish speaking, okay? Let him finish. Please, Honourable. Yes, Honourable.
Right Honourable, we had a meeting with the Minister of Finance about 2 weeks ago. They agreed to give us the costed project implementation plans, which they said because they are bulky, they will be sending them as soft copies, but unfortunately they did not send them. We wrote to them about 1 week ago, reminding them that we need these costed project implementation plans. They responded, but not satisfactorily. They did not send the costed project implementation plan. And the feeling of the members is that without that information, we are not in a position to give an informed opinion about vote, and it's specifically on vote 008. We've agreed with the Minister, Right Honourable Speaker, that they will be providing them first thing tomorrow morning, and if it pleases you, Right Honourable Speaker, we request that you allow us to present on Thursday.
Colleagues, I communicated the schedule for committees. You even have a right of coming here and you say, we have assessed but unsatisfactory. It goes on record here. Otherwise, committee procedures won't bog me down when I have a statutory deadline. They won't. Well, what do you want us to do here? To go on record that a committee of finance failed on this? Then you can as well come and your report says, Rook, Minister of Finance has refused to cooperate. Yes, it also goes on record. That's what I will refer to Budget Committee. Okay? Honourable Chivumbi wanted to say something?
Right Honourable Speaker, first of all, care must be taken about the Finance Committee. Out of the 50 trillion budget that we are going to consider this Parliament, nearly half of it is in one committee for approval. That is the Finance Committee. It handles vote 130, which has got about 18 trillion one vote, which is the treasury operation. And then when you look at the Ministry of Finance, it goes to about 19 trillion of the total budget. The other leg of it, it also has to consider the taxation policy, the taxation bill, that amount to about 28, 29 trillion of our total budget. Therefore, any information that is inadequate in that committee may be to the detriment of the entire budget process. That's why we press it upon the Minister of Finance to avail that committee with every necessary data, humanly possible, for us to make an informed opinion and recommendation to this Parliament that will affect the entire budget process. That's why I would like also to add my voice to the plea of the chair, and fail to press the Minister of Finance. For example, Right Honorable Speaker, let me give you just one example. We wanted to interact with the Ministry of Energy. The Ministry of Energy issued an instrument, and this is critical. We had tax areas of 616 billion on gold. The Ministry of Energy goes ahead and issues an instrument. Consequently, the country, the tax areas fall due to 43. And we lost 616 billion because of that instrument. What a loss to a country. A whole budget of near a Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of, and so many ministries in one budget. So for us to come here and give you half-baked, even admission of failure, would be detrimental to this budget, to this Parliament. That's why I want to urge you, Honorable Speaker, to press it upon the Minister of Finance that tomorrow, before 8, it provides the Committee of Finance with all the necessary information.
Honorable Minister for Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I am fortunate that before I was elevated, I served in the Committee of Finance for 10 years, and out of which 5 of them I was the chairperson. Mr. Speaker, in our opinion, the information we provided is sufficient to make the committee arrive at conclusions. And if they need further information, we can provide to the extent possible. What is not possible can be reported and the House can debate it. But I'm wondering why the information we provided cannot enable a committee arrive at a recommendation. This is what this is my concern.
Honorable Kashonji.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, Rule 189D requires the Secretary Committee to examine and recommend on these ministerial policy statements for the House. Now, to me, examining means going into deeper, scrutinize, and understand. And when you're examining, you are looking for what? You are looking for reasonableness, you are looking for economy, you are looking for effectiveness, you are looking for efficiency. What the Minister of Finance provided to us, I will give an example. They will just say output, hold the workshop in Mbarara, 200 million. To me, it does not make sense because a budget is a costed output or work plan. You indicate what you want to do, how much is cost in it, so that when I'm examining it, I can understand that what you are putting in the budget is reasonable. I can understand that you are not exaggerating figures or hiding them under a certain cost. Right Honorable Speaker, we as a committee, because I'm a member of the committee, we are defeated. We reasoned it to the Ministry of Finance. They accepted that that's the way to go. But the excuse was that it is barke. And my question was, if it's not barke to you, Why do you think it's bulky to us? Because we can as well get a soft copy and go through what they did and understand, so that figures are not hidden within their budget and we just pass through, unless we agree that we are going to rubber stamp whatever they bring to us. I submit, Mr. Honorable Speaker.
Now, colleagues, I don't know what is difficult here. I go back to my schedule. Number one, this schedule was developed after consulting committees. So, and now you've started disorganizing me. That's what I'm seeing. Because Thursday, the space you're asking for was meant for someone. But again, I can't say present here if you have nothing. Okay? But also I'm recording the performance of the committee. Because you should have brought this to my attention much earlier. I don't know why you come to present it to me on the floor that you have such an issue. You should have brought it to my attention much earlier. Then I intervene. That's number one. Number two, Honourable Minister for Finance, it should also be noted that it's the committee which determines the information they want. To the extent possible, you used a very good one. So whatever is possible, give them. When you were a reader, maybe you are not interested in this, but these ones are interested. So give them. Okay? Because you see, writing a report to the satisfaction is a relative word, is a relative statement. So to them, they need this information to reach that kind of conclusion. So, Honourable Minister, if the information is available, it's public information, it's nothing we are hiding as a government. So pass it on to them urgently, they process a report. Because you see, the relationship between a sectoral committee and the sector is very critical. I hope it doesn't degenerate into a relationship of saying, because colleagues, why I'm very, very cautious about this issue and why we need to satisfy members. For example, this current financial year, we passed a budget on Chivumbi, was it around 920 billion, which we removed for debt repayment, around 900 billion. Okay? Now, along the way, we found that indeed this money indeed was needed for debt repayment. So, but that's the money we had already cut and appropriated to other items. Now, where you put it, you're more or less putting air supply. But what brought it, maybe they lacked certain information. And based on hearsay and all that. So we don't want this to repeat itself. I want committees to make decisions based on actual information. So, Honourable Minister, tell your technical people to avail information today. Because soft copy information is very easy to get. And then they crack the numbers. Then I will call you tomorrow at 4 p.m. to report. Tomorrow at 4 p.m.
Much obliged, Right Honourable.
Thank you. Committee on Trade is
report of the Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industry on the Ministerial Policy Statement for financial year 2023/2024.
Chairman had told me they are ready. Chairperson. Colleagues, I'm suspending the House for 10 minutes for this chairperson. Okay? Are you ready, Chair? I want to know if you're ready before I move. If you're not, then but I haven't moved. I'm still in my position. Just 10 minutes, chairpersons. You consolidate all this. 10 minutes we are here.
UBC, inspiring Uganda. Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
Get away with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial *165*5*3# to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
One-on-one with Michael Jordan Lukomwa.
A weekly face-to-face conversation focusing on accountability, inspiration, information, and sensitization of the public from the various sources such as inspirational profiles.
Having a disability is not inability.
Professional guidance.
There is no special antiretroviral therapy that is given specifically for discordant couples.
And of course, politics.
Don't you see anywhere that you would give a credit in the fight against COVID?
My role as the owner of the country is not to, be preoccupied by giving credit to my servant.
We have said that if we are to talk to General Museveni, there must be certain conditions in place.
Is it true that you paid 5 million shillings to MPs that voted for Anita Monga and Tayebo?
That is laughable. Why would we pay when we have nominated them as SEC?
Every party has been represented in Uganda's parliament for 10 years. We only by one MP, you yourself and my daughter, Susan.
Every Friday 9 p.m. it's one-on-one with Michael Jordan Lukomwa on UBC TV, inspiring Uganda.
A logical, deeper conversation.
How many teachers in Uganda did you consult? But there's a mistake we are making. Which is good?
Which is good?
Which is good?
Which is good?
We went to this school, we ran it to Western, we ran it to Northern, we ran, then you come. Isn't that an achievement?
Objective and non-partisan.
Honorable Minister, there were a number of points. I want to start with you.
Straight from the hearts of open-minded men and women.
Money tends to move faster at night. So when people are not counting,
don't take it for granted.
Candid and authentic.
Because Uganda is not Thailand.
That's not correct, and we should stop that kind of mentality.
So what I'm saying is that's a trick question. Don't answer.
I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into that.
Tell him you speak Luo.
I think that's where we are beginning to have a problem.
I think what is going to kill the parish model are all the misconceptions on how it's supposed to run.
I know that the Prime Minister is listening.
Behind the headlines.
Charles, let us agree. We liberalized the economy. We are several nations put it together. Why don't you appreciate that? What if it fails?
I'm happy
and
to
he's
answer.
a good lawyer because I mean he's not in power.
The parish development committee is functional. It is there. That there is a parish chief that the beneficiary is doing.
So we look at expenditure. We don't look at revenue. And that is the challenge we are giving them from Minister of Finance.
Your fountain of new knowledge, flowing into the mass body of knowledge.
First get the knowledge of Bukedia, how they want to be modernized.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
You return money to the treasury, which is meant for the people.
UBC, inspiring Uganda. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Is this the future of urban freight transport? The Volta Zero truck promises clean and above all safe deliveries. But why does it look like a bus? We're going to find out.
Volta is a Swedish startup that is looking to challenge the big ones in the truck segment, and now we're going to check out what they have to offer.
Volta says it's made the world's first purpose-built full-electric 16-ton truck designed specifically for goods distribution in urban environments. The vehicle has been built from the ground up to take advantages of electric power technology on busy, cramped streets.
Since the drivetrain of this truck is at the rear axle, the front axle has more space to move, and thus the complete vehicle is way nimbler than, for example, a diesel truck.
Ditching the diesel combustion engine for a battery electric drivetrain allows for even more revolutionary design hacks.
If you stand in front of it, it kind of looks like a bus, but if you stand inside it, you see it's basically not a bus.
The design inspiration from a bus and a coach is deliberate, because if you think about it, that vehicle is designed to operate in city centres safely.
Yeah.
So if I take Transport for London statistics, because that's the one I have in my head, 4% of road miles in London are travelled by trucks. 26% of pedestrian fatalities and 78% of cyclist deaths in London are attributable to trucks. The cab is all about maximising driver visibility and the driver's view of what they're driving around, whether that's with their eyes or through the cameras, assisting them around a 360-degree view of the vehicle, so that we maximise the safety of a truck this size driving through city centre streets.
What we see right now is the driver sitting in the center, which is rather unusual.
Yes, yeah, and if you think about it, everybody has a left and a right-hand drive. But if you're the driver of that vehicle, you have to make a judgment where that far side is, and that's always going to be a judgment. Whereas if you're sitting in the center, you're putting the human literally in the center of everything, but they have exactly the same width either side to make the judgment when they're driving through a narrow street. It's also the best position for visibility. So our driver has 220 degrees of direct visibility